Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ruffled Rowlet, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we're going to be doing something slightly different. I want to kind of take today's video and discuss. I want to do a little bit of discussion, right? Will Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee fail in the sales department? Will they sell less than most other Pokemon iterations and games? I want to talk about that. I want to look at, pre-orders, how pre-orders are doing, how the games are looking, and all that stuff. I want to discuss all of it, go through it, and kind of talk about how the games may potentially go, the left or right way, right? They may go super good or super bad. They may do super well or sell awfully, you know what I mean? And just talk about all of that, and, why these games being the first ever, again, keep in mind, these games are mainline games. I've seen this argument from people keep telling them these games are not, they're not spin-offs, and people keep trying to argue with me. No, they're spin-offs, blah 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 blah, this and that. These are mainline games. Now again, if you want to argue, oh, but they're not core series or whatever, they're not main core games or whatever, that doesn't matter. They're mainline games made by Game Freak, and they're counted as the same style of game in the same position as anything from Sun and Moon to X and Y to Black and White to whatever. Those are mainline games. Let's Go Peach, Let's Go Eevee, they're also mainline games. You just have to accept that fact at this point, and we need to just kind of move past that at this point. And I'm going to move past it. I'm not going to try to mention it anymore. I'm sorry. But let's discuss the actual sales here. So we'll start with the positives. How are the sales doing currently? How is this game looking? What are the things that are pointing towards potentially really good sales and this game flourishing and selling millions of copies? What's pointing towards that? And then we'll talk about what's pointing towards the negative, where the games will sell bad and do poorly in general. So let's get started with the first point. Why are they doing good, and why will they maybe do good? Well, first things first, it's a Kanto remake. It's a Kanto remake, for crying out loud. It's Generation 1. Kanto is the most popular generation amongst people. It is the most popular overall generation when you think about it. It's just guaranteed to, generally speaking, do well, because it's just the biggest. It's the most popular one. It's the one that most casual people, the people in general that you find outside, will be able to recognize and connect to and understand, because they know about the 151 Pokemon. The average person, even gamers, if you look at just average gamers, most people know about the 151 first, and they can connect to that. So a lot of casuals, a lot of normies will be buying these games. I'm sorry, by the way, for calling them normies. I sound like a literal cringe lord or whatever when I say that, but just the general casual audience will be buying this game. Here and there. It may not be that people go out in droves, just crazy to go and buy and get their copy of Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. That may not happen, but there will be a lot of sales for a lot of the casual audience. So I kind of want to, bring that up. So again, it's a Kanto game. It's the biggest, most popular region. So that's guaranteeing somewhat sales there. Number 2. There's already been good sales on day 1. But then again, I have to bring this up. Whenever a game that is from a big franchise, from a big popular franchise, whenever it is announced, there is usually big pre-orders. Unless it's from a company like EA, which we'll discuss later. We have a lot of things to discuss here, because there will probably be a lot of arguments from you guys that I want to be able to dispel here and kind of discuss. But if you look at the general pre-orders from big franchises, look at Assassin's Creed, right? Assassin's Creed is a giant franchise at this point. Even though I don't understand how it became such a giant franchise, it is a big franchise, so it's guaranteed to always get a lot of pre-orders. And guess what? Currently, the new Assassin's Creed Odyssey is doing crazy in pre-orders. It's doing amazingly well, right? Even though the game doesn't look like anything special, it's still doing amazingly well, selling a lot of pre-orders, because it's a big franchise. It's one of those games that a lot of people will buy no matter what. But there is a lot of things that do come in the way of Let's Go Peach, Let's Go Eevee, which I will discuss later. I will discuss it, but I want to just make sure to point out that there are a few things that do come in the way of the game. So, we've already discussed 2 of the positives. 1, it's a Kanto game. It's the Generation 1 game. It's going to sell well because it is just Gen 1, and that's guaranteeing it. Number 2, we have the already good pre-orders on day 1. But keep in mind, the pre-orders have fallen. I want to make sure to point that out. The pre-orders were good on day 1 when the game was revealed. And then, like I said, usually games that when they first get revealed, they will always have good pre-orders. But Let's Go Peach, Let's Go Eevee have fallen. Now, you may argue, oh, this is just Amazon. You can't decide, that the games are going to do bad just because Amazon sales are bad. But you got to keep in mind, Amazon is the biggest platform you know, for sales of games at this point. Like, they sell, you know, if you don't count, like, the Nintendo eShop, PlayStation Store, and, like, Xbox's store, or whatever it's called. I'm not sure what Xbox has because I don't use an Xbox. But, like, you know, if you don't count their, like, online stores, usually Amazon is, like, one of the biggest places to go and buy stuff, you know, from. That's where they sell a lot of games. That's how you can tell if a game is, you know, if a game is going to do good, bad, etc. Because the Amazon sales kind of tell you, because Amazon is just such a big platform at this point for, you know, the sales of different products, especially games. They, you know, that's a good place to tell if a game's going to do good, bad, etc. So I want to just make sure to point that out. Now, let's get to another point. This is the first ever set of Pokemon games on a main home console. All the previous mainline Pokemon games have always been on the handheld, you know, the handheld franchise of consoles from Nintendo. This is the first time that they've decided to make a Pokemon game that isn't just for a handheld only, but for a main home console, the current main home console. You know what I mean? That, you know, so it's guaranteed you're gonna sell a decent chunk just based on that fact that it is for the first time a Pokemon main series game on a home console. That's just guaranteeing it to begin with. But there's of course more aspects here. But then again, those are the 3 points pointing towards good sales. Again, it's Pokemon, it's Kanto, you know, it's Kanto, so it's guaranteed to sell well overall. It's the first ever game on like you know, the mainline consoles, or the, you know, home consoles rather, not mainline consoles. It's a mainline game on the home console. That's what I'm trying to get across. And of course, good pre-order sales initially, but of course the pre-order sales have fallen, as you may know. And the current pre-order points that they have, like the average points that they have from ComG here, are really low. They're really, really, really low, which I already talked about this in the past. I already did a video about the dropping, you know, pre-order sales of Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, but the sales here, these points are bad. Comparing to Sun and Moon, it's really, really bad. Like, this is just not good. In all honesty, it's just not good. Like, it's bad. But let's go into the things that are more on the negative side, right? We talked about the positives. The games are Kanto. The games are the first on the, you know, on Nintendo home console. And also, it's Pokemon as a franchise. And they had good pre-order sales initially. But then again, the sales have not continued to stay up high. Because again, the games, when they were revealed, sure, in the first 3 days, there will be a lot of pre-order sales. Because a lot of, like, people, the hype, you know, the hype is building up. A lot of people will just jump in and try to, you know, will be pre-ordering day one. That's just how it is. But the sales dropped hard after that. And that's where the issue comes in. So, then let's go over to the negatives. Where do we have the bad stuff? Well, let's begin with the first thing, which is right here. We already know the pre-orders are falling at an alarming rate. We already know that. That's a thing that we're already aware of. We've already talked about this, that on Amazon, they're doing awful. The Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee games are doing pretty shitty, my dudes. Like, the Pokeball Plus bundles are doing way better than the single games on the Japanese Amazon. And then on the US Amazon, they're so far down. And here, at least, the games are above the, you know, the bundles, you know what I mean, which should be logical, but they're pretty far down. You have Monster Hunter Generation Ultimate, Mario Tennis Aces, Octopath Traveler, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey still selling well, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still selling well, Super Mario Party outselling like crazy, it's selling super well, and then you have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate just destroying on the top there. You know, it's just, there's so many of these other games that are above them, which is really worrying. And now you may argue, right, oh, but this isn't the only thing. Amazon isn't the only thing. But then again, keep in mind, their ComG points here are low compared to Sun and Moon. This is where I want to, you know, people to understand. So let me read this again, because this is where I want to, you know, I want to talk about all the things that could lead towards these games selling really bad. I want to bring up all the points. This is one of the biggest points here. While Sun and Moon were averaging 300 to 500 points 4 months before launch, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee are currently averaging 38 to 92 points 4 months before launch. The higher the ComG points, the stronger the pre-orders are. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is currently at 187. Like double, I mean, yeah, essentially double of the highest amount of points that Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee has. So, they're, you know, it's selling essentially, it's getting double the pre-orders, which would also explain, you know, why it's doing so crazy well. And this, you know, these com points are probably going to increase for it up to 200, maybe 250 or whatever, you know, to just be selling even better. But then again, they're also slightly below here. But you got to keep in mind, the reason also why these points right here are so low compared to like Sun and Moon is because Sun and Moon were selling on a console that already had, that was already in the hands of all consumers, right? Everybody, like a lot of people already had a 2DS, a 3DS, a 2DS XL, 3DS XL, etc., or a new 3DS, or a new 2DS XL or whatever, or 2DS, whatever it's called. People already had those. That console had already been sold so much, so there was an audience there to increase these points here. Because, hey, 300, 500 points, that's high. That's super high. 4 months ahead of time, that's a lot of like pre-orders being, sold. There's a lot of pre-orders for these games, but it also makes sense because there was more people to actually pre-order. With with Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and even Smash Bros. Ultimate, you have less people that own Switches. There's less people that own this console. Now, again, this thing is doing well. This month, it's the best-selling console of August right now. It's got about 20 million plus copies, or not copies, 20 million plus hardware sales. They've sold 20 million of these. They've sold an amazing amount of them, so these are selling good still, but it's not enough to push them to the level of sales that you have with something like Sun and Moon. Now if we do look at like something like GameStop, which people told me like, oh, you were just looking at Amazon here. We're just looking at the sales of Amazon, etc. Blah blah blah. Why were you just looking at that? Look at like GameStop. Well, I went on GameStop, but again, this is the Swedish GameStop, so I'm not sure if it shows the best sellers. I went on best sellers here. I'm not sure if it's going to show the best, or it doesn't show the best sellers for maybe the US, but it does show for Sweden. And, again, Europe has become a bigger place for sales of video games. Like, in the past, Pokemon wasn't really targeted for Europe. Like, Europe was always the region that got the Pokemon games the last. Voice crack. The Pokemon, like, games were always released the last in Europe, hence why there were less sales here. The US and Japan always sold more, and they still always sell, generally speaking, more. I think now Europe actually outsells Japan. But in general, though, Europe was always kind of left behind. But nowadays, Europe is kind of, we get the games at the same time, so we're, up to date. But if you look at the best-selling products here, which I'm not sure if they're ranking them correctly here, but the most sold right now is Breath of the Wild still on top, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Limited Edition, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, similar to how we had it right here. Let's see, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then you have Super Mario Odyssey, and then you have Let's Go Pikachu plus Pokeball plus. Actually, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee here. This edition is actually really high up here. It's at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then you have Super Bomber R, really high up at number 6, which makes no sense. This game is awful. It's gotten so much shit because it's such a bad game. So I'm really confused how it's on the top here. I'm not sure if they're actually ranking this properly or how they're doing this. But again, this should be Sweden specifically. Got a tweet here from Nintendo, whatever. But again, this could be these sales here. This could be based on. I mean, it should be based on just Sweden because this is the Swedish version of GameStop I'm on right now. But even here, you can notice, yeah, Let's Go Pikachu, they're doing good, but they're still being outsold by Zelda and Smash Bros. On here. I mean, if you look at down here, you've got, let me see, Smash Bros. Is right here, just a basic copy of Smash Bros. Also, I will point this out, just generally in Sweden, less people just go to GameStop because they charge more. You can buy, Smash Bros. For 100 kroner less. For, instead of paying $6.99, you can pay $5.99 or even $4.99 to get, a game like this, in a different store, way cheaper. So, GameStop in Sweden, people just tend to kind of avoid it because they just kind of charge a lot. I mean, there's, of course, people go and buy in there. I'm probably going to have a million people in the comment section probably telling me, dude, I live in Sweden and I buy from GameStop all the time. I get it. But also keep in mind, anybody who's from Sweden right now is watching, keep in mind we also have Elgiganten, CDON, etc. We have a bunch of other websites, Webhallen, all these websites that tend to also sell these games for way cheaper because GameStop, for some reason, always charges more for, games. Actually, I think if I can actually find it here for you guys, I can kind of show you my point. If I can kind of find a Swedish store here to kind of prove what I'm trying to get across if this website loads. But either way, so we've already talked about the current low pre-order sales, at least on Amazon, and their low pre-order sales across the board, right? They're overall just selling less because, again, keep in mind, there's less people that own the Switch, so there's going to be less people buying it. And I think most people would rather buy Smash Bros. Because it's just a bigger and more hype game at the moment. More people are going to be buying that. And also, you have Super Mario Party. I think, yeah, Super Mario Party. Let me see if it's right here. I think it was... pretty high. Actually, no. Wait, was it on pre-orders or where was it? No, actually, no. It's right here that I read it. Jeez, lost track of it. Super Mario Party, right? Super Mario Party is higher up because Super Mario Party, it's a Super Mario game. It's a Super Mario Party game. A lot of people love these, especially after what they showed off the game and what it looks like and all that stuff. There's going to be a lot of people buying this shit hardcore. You know that for a fact. So that's, again, one point. I want to go through one point. I still have way more to go through, but I want to find you, and we're going to also read through here the sales of Sun and Moon and why that's going to, how the difference between the Let's Go game sales and the Sun and Moon games may be affected. But here you go. So, for example, let's see. We're on Ilgianton. Let's search in Pokemon here. Let's see if we can find. Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. But this is not what I'm looking for. Why are I didn't know they sold snapbacks. Let's see. Can we just search for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu? Let's see. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Pow. Actually, maybe I have to do like the little weird E or whatever. Oh boy. Let's see if actually anything shows up here. I don't think it will though. No, they don't seem to be having them on the website, which is really odd. Maybe if I search Cereon.sc here, and maybe if we search Pokemon, let's see, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Here we go. Let's see if the price is lower. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. Look at this. If you look at the prices here, GameStop. This is why people just try to avoid GameStop. $6.99, $5.99. Of course, this would be like 29 kroner, like shipping or whatever. But like again, that's still cheaper. That's still cheaper. That's still cheaper than buying it here. You're still buying it less, and you can also buy this in like for this price in Elgiganten and many like hardware stores where you buy like electronics and stuff, electronic stores. You can usually buy games there for way cheaper, and that's usually where parents go to buy these sort of things. They don't usually go to GameStop. I mean, they tend to go to GameStop if their kids tell them like, "Mom, I want Fortnite skins. Go to GameStop and buy me a PSN code or some shit." They're gonna go there and buy it. But either way, we've gone through one point. I still have a lot more to go through. So point number 2, the community is split. Keep in mind, right? Pokemon sells well because it has a big dedicated audience. Now, the casuals don't always buy Pokemon games. I mean, if you look at Pokemon Go, Pokemon Go is still doing good because a lot of the people who joined in on Pokemon Go were the casual audience. That's why Pokemon Go became so big, because the people who joined in there weren't a lot of the people who played the mainline games. It was people, of course, mainline people also played it, but it was majority of casual people that made the game the success it is, right? The reason why Pokemon Go is still so big is because it's played by a lot of casual audiences and like a giant audience that doesn't care for the mainline games and stuff. And that goes vice versa. For people who don't care about the mainline games, you have an audience who doesn't care about Pokemon Go. You have the mainline audience who doesn't care about that. And currently the community is split. Now, I've been seeing people saying, like, people have been saying, I'm not buying Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, because they look shit. I don't need another game, like, I don't need another Kanto, which I agree. That's a big reason to why these games may fall in sales. One, we already know the pre-orders are down. This is already a fact. You can't disprove the fact that they are selling less right now. They are below, Smash Bros. They're gonna be below Smash Bros. No matter what, because Smash Bros. Is just doing way better. It's coming out in December. It's gonna destroy. Like, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee are gonna be so irrelevant 2 weeks after release. They're gonna be so irrelevant because Smash Bros. Comes out. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna be so, like, out of the loop. They're not going to be, the focus. Like, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks after Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee come out. You have Smash Bros. Coming out. Once Smash Bros. Comes out, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, they're going to be out of the picture. They may sell a bunch of copies initially, but they're going to be so out of the picture, and you're going to have Smash Bros. On the top, because every kid, and you already see that with the pre-orders. The pre-orders are high for Smash Bros. And also, the general sales on release are going to be crazy big. They're going to be insane, because it's the best Smash Bros. Game that I've ever seen. It's like the most hyped up one ever. Everybody's here. You know what I mean? That's why that game is going to be so big, because there's so many characters, there's so much hype behind it. So that's 2.2. Again, the community split, and you also have, actually that's 2. I guess that's 3 points in total. You've got the community to split, low pre-orders over time, low, COM-G points here, with meaning that the overall sales or pre-orders are pretty down, and also the community split. And the community split is because people are just tired of Kanto. People are just, generally speaking, tired. So tired of just getting the same thing over and over again. They're just tired of that. Now, again, if you want to argue that, oh, why are they complaining? This isn't the same thing. Sure, it's Kanto, but it's different. You can catch Pokemon with a Pokeball, etc. If you buy the Pokeball Plus thing, it's different because in this version you have Mega Evolutions and stuff. But people have arguments towards that. The lack of Pokemon. Because there's only 151 plus Alola forms, and then if you want to count the Mega Evolutions, there's only that. That's small. That's really small compared to other Pokemon games. Compared to Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon, etc. That's far lower amounts of Pokemon to, actually capture and, train and own, etc. It's less Pokemon in general. The fact that it's Kanto again, is an issue. People just are tired of Kanto. We've had so much Kanto in the past, we're just kind of tired with it. You know, Pokemon Go started off, only had Kanto Pokemon. You know, you had Fire Red Leaf Green in the past. You've had Heart Gold Soul Silver, which also had Kanto in it, but that's kind of different. You know what I mean? But in general, Kanto's just been getting so much love. Kanto Pokemon in X and Y got like the most Mega Evolutions at the time. You know what I mean? Just Kanto Pokemon in general just gets so much attention, and Kanto in itself is just getting so much love, while every other region to people feels like it's getting left behind. You know, what about Gen 2? What about Gen 4? What about Gen 5? What about, you know, Gen 6? I mean, maybe not many people love Gen 6 as much as, you know, the other ones, but you get the kind of general gist and general point here. People are just kind of fed up. People were disappointed with X and Y. Some people hated Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because they removed features that were essential. People were angry because there was no Battle Frontier. People were angry about that. Sun and Moon were disappointing to people because the cutscenes were too long and there was shitty pacing. It was like not good pacing. Ultra Sun and Moon were disappointing to people because they thought they were going to be sequels and not improved versions or enhanced versions. People thought they were going to be sequels. So there's been a lot of disappointment from fans, and people are just kind of fed up. Now, you may argue here, oh, you're just bullshitting. People will buy it no matter what. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will bring to the stand here Battlefield 5. Now, you may argue, okay, fans will buy it no matter what. Well, that may not be so true, because fans can get fed up. Fans can vote with their wallets. Fans can vote with their wallet and say, hey, guess what? I don't want to spend my money on this. This is not what I wanted. This isn't the product that I wanted, so I won't spend my money on it. And keep in mind, you don't have to. And I want to argue this because again, I know for a fact, I'm going to have people in the comments, you know, complaining about one thing or another, being like, oh, why are you complaining about this? Why are you making this video, etc., etc. You know, people are going to be arguing stuff. But this, like I mentioned, the reason why I bring this up is because people keep saying, you're going to buy it no matter what. To people who keep saying, people, you know, are telling others, you know, I'm not going to buy it. I'm just not going to buy it. I'm not happy with this product. I don't want to buy it. And that's the way you should be thinking. If you're not happy with the product, if you don't think a product is what you want, then don't spend money on it. Vote on it with your wallet, if that's how you feel. Again, I've always said it, and I'm going to keep saying it, wait until there are reviews and more information about the games out, and then decide as well. Like, you know, don't be just instantly hating on the games. That will just be wrong. Don't just go on hating on the games and just, you know, bashing them and stuff. You know, give them a chance, not by buying them, but rather by taking a look at them. And if you're a Pokemon fan, you know, taking a look at them and being like, okay, you know, this doesn't look like something I want, so I will abstain from it. I'll say no thanks. I'll, you know, wait until the next game in 2019. Or if it looks interesting, if you think it looks good and you really want to buy it, then go buy it. If you're super excited about it and you really want it, then pre-order it. Nobody's going to stop you. But if people say that they're not going to buy it, and, you know, people keep trying to bring up this argument that you're going to buy it no matter what, Pokemon fans are going to buy it no matter what because they have no choice. No. Look at Battlefield 5. Analyst predicts EA's Battlefield 5 will be a serious disappointment. Says pre-orders lag Call of Duty by more than 85%. So, Cohen believes EA's Battlefield 5 game may put the company's financial guidance at risk. The firm's analyst said pre-orders for Battlefield 5 are tracking more than 85% behind Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which is substantially worse than previous instances. Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 titles lagged Call of Duty by 20% to 40%, and Battlefield 1 actually tracked ahead of Call of Duty at this point before launch. EA's most important non-sport game for this holiday season is struggling, according to Cohen. The firm reiterated its market-performing rating for Electronic Arts shares, citing weak pre-orders for the publisher's Battlefield 5 title. Why? Because the guy who was the head person over at DICE said to the people out there in the audience, to the consumers, said, hey, if you don't want to buy the game, you know, if you don't want it, don't buy it. You know, nobody's, you know, don't buy it if you don't want it. Basically, you know, he's calling people uneducated and stuff like that, being a bit rude against his audience. And guess what? The pre-order sales are low. There isn't much interest. People don't care. People don't want to buy it because people vote with their wallet. They vote with their wallet because I can't even speak Swedish or English. Sorry. People can vote with these things. You know, you can vote with this. If you don't want a game, if you're not happy with the product that's being given, don't spend your money on it. That's the best way to tell the company that that's not what you wanted. You just don't buy it. But again, you know, that's just how you look at it. So right now, I've gone through the main points. People are tired. The community's split between these games. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are in the middle. I'm currently in the middle. I don't hate or love these games. I'm in the middle. I'm going to wait to, you know, to cast my judgment once I've tried out the games, and I'll have a review out on them eventually. You know what I mean? That's what I'm planning on doing. But in general, though, you know, again, like I said, low pre-order sales over time. The sales are low. Low interest from the hardcore community, the people that, are more dedicated and, always tend to buy Pokemon games. And it just looks like, in general, these games just aren't something that people asked for. It's just something that people didn't want. That's the biggest thing. This is a product that people just didn't want. Hence why the sales may be lower. So, what do you guys think? I want to end up this video right here because I've already been going for far too long. This video is supposed to be like 15 minutes max, but it ended up being like 25 almost. So I want to ask you guys, do you think these games will be selling well? If you think they're going to sell well and, you want them to sell well and that sort of stuff, do hashtag Pokemon Let's Go, okay, in the comment section, hashtag Pokemon Let's Go. And if you think these games are going to sell really bad and you don't want them to sell good and you're not happy with them and you want to vote with your wallet and say no to these games, then write Pokemon Let's No in the chat. I know that sounds really stupid. I know. I'm sorry. But just write in the chat, in the comment section if you want to, let me know what you guys feel. And again, guys, keep in mind, these are my opinions. Some of the facts, all this stuff I want to share with you, because keep in mind, guys, if you compare the pre-order sales, here with the Pokemon Sun and Moon games, they were far higher. If you look at the actual sales of the Sun and Moon games, they sold 16.12 million copies. They were some of the best-selling games ever on the 3DS, ranking them as the third best-selling Nintendo 3DS titles, behind both Mario Kart 7 and Pokemon X and Y. During a GameStop third quarter earnings conference call, Pokemon Sun and Moon was said to have the most pre-orders for any video game in the last 5 years. It is GameStop's best-selling game of 2016, outselling Call of Duty Infinite Warfare on its first day of release. Pokemon Sun and Moon shipped 10 million units worldwide. First day of release, it shipped 10 million units worldwide. The game sold over 1.9 million copies in Japan in the first 3 days on the market, and on Nintendo's biggest game launch of all time in Europe, with the UK and France launch selling 368,000 and 450,000 copies respectively within a week of the out of the continent's 1.5 million sales. So they sold about 2 million copies then. Europe sales rose to past 2 million mark within the following week. In North America, the game sold over 3.7 million in less than 2 weeks after initial release, climbing to 4.5 by mid-January. What I'm trying to say here is, with the Sun and Moon games, you had a bigger install base. And what I mean by that is more people owned the Nintendo 3DS than the amount of people who now own the Switch. There's less people who own a Switch, and then also the amount of people then who would want to buy the Let's Go games ends up being smaller in general. Then again, you also have competition. You have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate coming out about 3 or 2.5 weeks after, or 3 weeks after this Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee games. You got that coming out, 3 weeks later. So you've got competition, and during the same month, during November, you also have Super Mario Party coming out. So you have a lot of competition to deal with, and a smaller install base, and a lot of the general public may want to buy it, but the hardcore fans are split. There's a huge split in the community between people that want it and people that don't want it, and the people who don't want it, they're not going to buy it. You can't argue, based on what we've seen with Battlefield 5, it's hard to argue this idea that, people are going to buy it no matter what. You can't argue that anymore. It's kind of hard to do that based on what we've seen. So with you guys, again, in the comment section, hashtag Pokemon Let's Go if you think the game's going to sell well, and if you want the game to sell well, and Pokemon hashtag Pokemon Let's Know if you think the game's going to sell bad and if you don't want it to sell good. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all the next time. Have a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.